Welcome, everyone, back to the Boiling Point podcast. I am your host, JD, and I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest here on episode 63, To Catch a Predator Hunter. He is a professional predator hunter, and he is the founder of Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. Mike, I didn't want to throw your last name in there because I don't know, if you're down for sharing your last name or not. But Mike from Pennsylvania Predator Hunters, as he always introduces himself on his videos. You can find him. Make sure you go check his pages out. He has two Facebook pages, and we'll talk about why a little bit later. Facebook.com/pa.predhunters and Facebook.com/pa.predhunt. Those are his two pages. The first one I named is his primary page, and the second one I named is his secondary page for when, the Facebook police shut his primary page down. Mike, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. It's very exciting to have someone with your reputation and your fan following, coming on my small little show. So I appreciate it very much that you were willing to take the time.
Absolutely, good. It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, let's start. The first thing I would like to ask you is what got you into this? How does one find their way to catching predators and to exposing them online?
Well, I saw a video a buddy of mine did down in Tennessee. His name's Chad. He ran Dirty South Justice back in the summer of 2018. And so I started looking around, and I the first thing I did was start networking. I started working with another team behind the scenes in administrative roles. And for about 2 months, and then once I had a feel for everything that was going on, what goes into it, what because there's a lot behind the scenes that happens. They're not just videos, there's a whole lot. So once I had a solid footing behind the scenes, I formed a team with other people I was working with behind the scenes, and October 8th. 2018, we formally launched Pennsylvania Predator Hunters.
All right, so 2018. So you've been we're right up here on your three-year anniversary then.
Yeah, just passed.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Friday.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. 3 years. Now, how many exposures have you done so far?
We've done between 175 and 180. I think we're at like 178 now. Over 3 years, there was a long break for due to Corona.
Yeah.
We never stopped when that happened, but it did slow exponentially. We went from a couple a week to few and far between. But also, our numbers drop. The longer we do it, the more it goes into it. Like the higher our bar gets. So to meet that bar, it requires a lot more. When we started, it was just like, all right, this guy's coming to meet, and we expose him, and then that's it. But now, compared to then, our bar is so high on labeling someone as a sexual predator of children. So there's a few factors, but
can you talk about the factors? What do you, before you do an exposure, what has to meet your criteria for that? Can you talk about the criteria?
Yeah. Well, we require direct sexual talk from the predator to the decoy. We require the decoy. They cannot say a lot of things, so it can't be misconstrued as the decoy is leading on the guy, because a predator of children is one of the worst labels, if not the worst label you can get in our society. Worse than a murderer. It's the absolute worst crime.
Yeah.
So putting that label on someone, we don't take it lightly, and we don't consider things to be just collateral damage. So we have content. We don't produce content. We put out exposure.
Yeah, you don't make videos just to draw people to your page and to get fans. It's not about that for you. It's about exposing people, and you're right, absolutely. The child predator or pedophile label on somebody is absolutely the worst thing that you can be labeled with in this society, no doubt. And that's why I think I like your guys' page so much more than some of the others, because of the bar that you have. Because you are going after people who are in fact pedophiles, and not people who are just messing around or doing something stupid. You're actually looking
Right.
for the hardcore predators who are real predators of children.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's why like if someone reached out to a decoy right now and said everything that we require them to say, and they wanted to meet right now and specifically said for sex, within a short time frame, we wouldn't do the exposure. We require a few days to go by, so someone can't say I was drunk, I was caught up in the moment. You can't say anything like that. We require a conversation over days, not just a quick thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's interesting too. So it's not just somebody messages your decoy and says, I want to meet up for sex, and then boom, you're on them. You wait. There's a time frame where you wait afterwards. Once they say,
the conversation has words. Right. Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay. So, and you talked about, you were behind the scenes with another exposure group. And that's how you learned, about exposures and stuff like that. Is that also where you learned? Because I imagine it's very complicated. People think it's real easy, but it's not. Because by watching your videos, I know that certain things you are allowed to do certain things. You're not allowed to do certain things. Where did you learn that? Has it just been trial and error, or was it just like a foundation from the other exposures group that you worked with?
You mean as far as the legalities of what I can and can't say?
Yeah. In terms of legality, yes, to make sure you're not getting in trouble with the law and with police and stuff.
Right. Well, yeah, that was through pretty much research and conversations had with other teams, other team leaders, and things like that. As far as legalities go, it's really important for us that while we're exposing these people as child predators, we have to keep in mind that they do have rights, but we also have rights. So we're going to flex our rights at the same time. That's why we don't hold them there. We can't, because that would be kidnapping or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why
you also don't attack them physically.
I was about to say, if something physical happens on an exposure, we have a certain degree of liability that goes along with that, because we're in the eyes of the law, we're creating a situation. So it's important that we keep a calm temperament. For the most part, it does get loud sometimes, but we try to avoid physical. It's gotten physical a lot, but nowadays, that's far behind us. Essentially, at an exposure, our goal is to get them to admit why they're there. So we've got these chat logs, we've got this interview, and we go live on Facebook rather than posting an edited thing, so they can't say there's any edits. They can't say it was manipulated in any way. It's right there. It's live for everyone to see. So yeah, it's really important for us to maintain our integrity, and keep everything as civil as possible, considering the circumstances.
Yes, and through most of your exposures that I've seen, because I've seen a number of them, like I said, I like watching them. While I know there are some people that think it's entertainment, and they are entertaining, most of them are very entertaining, just to see how people react when they're being exposed. But that's obvious. Again, that's not why you're doing it. That's not the point of the page.
Right.
It's to protect the children. Now, you said do you work with the police at all on your exposures?
We don't work directly with the police. What we do is after the exposure, we will reach out to whichever municipality and on whatever level we feel is necessary. Sometimes the police are, I don't want to say excited, but they're very happy. Other times, depending on the municipality, sometimes the police don't want anything to do with us because they view us as vigilantes.
Yeah.
But here's all right. For example, we got one guy. He was on the sex offender registry. He was convicted of raping a child in Florida and Pennsylvania, and he was still out to meet up with the 15-year-old, which was our decoy. So he went through the system, and it just goes to show you that the system, when it works, it's okay, but it doesn't always work, especially with sexual predators of children. A lot of these guys get super light sentences, and like this guy, he was free to try and rape a third child. And a lot of people didn't know because he was the founder of Reading Search and Rescue.
Wow.
And they had like a youth program there where, kind of like a summer camp kind of deal, like just like a firehouse would have, junior firefighters. And, nobody knew about it. They thought he was like this upstanding member of the community when in reality he was on parole for raping children.
Huh.
So putting them out there the way that we do is, I'm not going to say it's more effective than them going through the system, but at the same time, it's equally effective, but adjacent to it. It's a different kind of exposure.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think because the fact that he raped one child and was allowed out is terrible in itself. So, but now, did your exposure of that particular person, did it lead to him being dismissed from his job, and did you get to accomplish what you wanted from it?
Yeah, he was placed into custody within a few days after the exposure, and he was sent down to Florida, where he was currently under supervision for the charges he had there. So yeah, it absolutely worked. It not only exposed him to the community, but he was, sent down to Florida and had to face the music once again.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's good. Yeah. Now I wanted to ask you, building off of that, do you get called? Do you get called into court to testify? Have you been called into court to testify, either against somebody or even, someone trying to accuse you or something, as a defendant even?
Well, that never as a defendant, but I have been to court multiple times, and usually when I go, it almost feels like I'm a defendant because the defense lawyer tries to pick us apart to discredit us. But the reality is we've got our chat logs, and it shows that, the decoy never ever reaches out, initiates contact. The decoy never talks sexually. The decoy never asks to meet. It's all a conversation led on by, the accused, and but never as an actual defendant.
Okay,
but they damn sure make it feel that way.
Yeah, I'm sure the defense tries to pick you apart, and that just goes to show, how your group has their stuff together. That they can't, even when trying to pick you apart. You have the chat logs, you have your procedures that you have, so it keeps you in the clear. You don't have to worry about legality because of the precautions that you take.
Exactly, and it's our bar's so high not only to make sure we don't improperly label someone as a predator, but it's also to protect us and our integrity that we've built on for the past 3 years.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about, because a lot of people get frustrated with this, that these people are even allowed out, even after being convicted once, that they're allowed to come back out again like that. And I know some people think that even the chat logs that you have should be enough to send someone to jail, though intent is not a crime. What do you think? Is there anything we can do? Do you have any ideas for how we could strengthen or protect the children more with any kind of law or legislation?
Um, it's the justice system is so tangled up. It's unreal. I'd love to say, yeah, we need stricter laws, but we've already got laws on the books to cover almost everything. So adding more laws isn't going to do anything. What we actually need, in my opinion, and most law enforcement, most law enforcement has divisions of, internet crimes. There's ICAC, which is Internet Crimes Against Children, where the police are essentially doing the same thing that we do. We're doing the same thing as police, I should say. But it just, I think it all comes down to money. I think the system has its money funding other things like, drug task force sort of operations, when it would be, in my opinion, it would be a lot better if it went to things like sexual predators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with you. I think I would agree with you on that. Absolutely. I mean, the war on drugs is pretty much not going to work. I think we've proven that in this country. Now, do we just turn a blind eye to it? No, not necessarily. But I don't think we need to have, drug task forces and all this, extra stuff. That money could definitely go elsewhere. And if it can go to protect the children, then that's obviously where it should go. Now, I don't have any children myself, but I have nieces and nephews. So, and I want them to be, safe. I don't want them to, come in contact with a predator or anything like that, because I would not be able to hold my cool the way you do in the exposures. You demonstrate a great restraint in your exposures. I would like to tell you, because I don't know how you do. I don't know how you don't just grab somebody by the throat and just throw them into a wall or something sometimes.
It did used to get physical, and after being told by various law enforcement officials, that you shouldn't do that, then I'm like, I know. All right, so I wound up reining them, because at the end of the day, I do have 3 children, and so if I'm in jail for doing something stupid on an exposure, then who's going to protect my kids from the sexual predators out there?
Exactly. I mean? Absolutely.
So I just got to keep that in the front of my mind. Just be cool. It's conversation.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that like I said, that takes great restraint on your part there. Now, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk to parents, to tell parents, any parent who might be watching or listening, what can they do to make sure that their child is safe? What can the parents do to ensure their child is safe?
Well, we always preach to check your kids' devices and everything. That's kind of obvious. And there's a lot of apps out there that allow you to monitor there's a lot of programs available through phone providers that do those same services. But in my opinion, the most important is communication. If you have an open line of communication with your children, and this just in my experience is what works for me, won't necessarily work for everyone else, but my kids come to me about anything and everything. And if you have that open line of communication, your kids will be a lot more comfortable to come to you if there is a creep online trying to talk to them, before they're able to be manipulated by the guy, and, it's kept a secret. So just my approach to it is communication.
I think that's very good advice, and I do think checking kids' devices is also a good thing. I grew up in a time when we didn't have devices. Getting on the computer, the home computer, the internet was about the only thing we had at the time. So, and that wasn't even until I was almost already in high school. So,
right.
In today's day and age, you definitely got to, 6-year-olds have devices. So definitely, put parental controls on them. keep an eye on them, monitor them. It's not about privacy, not when it comes to devices. They have their bedroom or whatever kind of private area that they have, and they have privacy. Online is not, they do not get the right of privacy online. Definitely,
Right.
parents monitor your children's devices. Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about Facebook. You have problems sometimes with Facebook because of your exposures, I guess, because they say it goes against their community standards. Of course, you have a pin right at the top of your page that anybody can see, and in your first sentence, you say a page that does not violate any community standards or practices, which I find hilarious.
Yeah, that's the name of our archive group. It used to be just PPH archives, where people could just go and see the downloaded versions of our exposures, but we lost pages. They removed our groups, so I was kind of angry when they took our group down because we lost all of our content. And so yeah, I named it a group that totally doesn't violate any community standards.
Yeah,
is the name of our. I know it's lengthy, but at this point I can't change it.
yeah, yeah. And it's
And
good,
you
but
know what? Since I named it that, we haven't gotten any strikes against us.
oh,
So maybe it worked.
I guess maybe it did. Yeah. But that's why you did set up the second page, because you had problems. Now, did you have correspondence with Facebook? Did they tell you what the problem exactly was, or did they give you a vague?
When we lost our first page, we weren't given any notice. It was just gone.
Wow.
No email, no nothing. So that's why then we created the page we currently have, the main page, and then we've got our backup page for when the main page gets taken. Now, we did have a couple strikes against us, and but one upside to Corona was, after a certain amount of time, we dropped those strikes. So now we're back at we're back in a good place, and hopefully we won't need to actually use that backup page. But if we do, it's there. It's going to take a lot of building, but so yeah, we don't really get along with Facebook, but it is our main platform.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't really get along with Facebook.
Yeah.
Now I haven't had any personal problems with them, but I'm small time yet. I have had my problems with YouTube though. So, even as small as my podcast is, I've had my problems with YouTube. So, yeah, Facebook, YouTube, those types of things, they still have problems. Do you use any other ones? For example, my main station is on Rumble. Rumble's a free speech platform.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Rumble, but we are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The Facebook is our main platform,
Yes.
and YouTube, when I first created the channel, it was going to essentially just be an archive group. And then when Facebook took our page down, I got mad at Facebook, and I was going to go live from YouTube and just do it that way. But you need to meet a threshold of
Yeah.
subscribers to be able to go live from a mobile device. So I'm like, all right. So I put the word out, ironically on Facebook, and we met that threshold. But I almost immediately got an email from YouTube saying that our content violated their standards, and it was this whole thing like we'll never be able to be monetized or whatever. Which I don't care. We're not monetized anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, we don't make money off of it. We're monetized on Facebook, but our content doesn't allow for monetization.
Yeah.
You can't, they don't run ad breaks in a live video, only on recorded. So, so yeah, we've got a little bit of stuff on YouTube.
But Facebook is the main.
Yeah.
Your main thing,
Instagram, I think, will be second. I'm not sure. I don't.
Well, you should definitely check out Rumble, because it's a free speech platform. They're not super great. They don't offer a lot of customization, but they're free speech, and you don't have to worry about, getting taken down or anything like that. At least not now, not unless they decide to change their rules and regulations and stuff, which companies are free to do at any time, I guess.
Right.
Well, I don't have anything. I didn't have anything more for you. Is there anything you wanted to talk about? I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the support, and I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank everyone who's followed us, over the past few years, and we look forward to the next few years and what that brings us, and we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the support of everyone. So it's definitely appreciated.
Well, hopefully we can draw even more people to your cause, and to help you out. More eyes seeing the exposures, the better. And hopefully we can also have you on the podcast again. Maybe we get some PPH and the Boiling Point podcast work together a little bit more yet.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back.
All right. Well, let's facebook.com/pa.predhunters. That is the primary page to go to. Facebook.com/pa.predhunt is the secondary or backup page. They're also on Instagram and YouTube, but Facebook is their primary. Make sure you share this episode out. Leave us a comment if you would like to, but definitely at least take a few seconds, share this episode out. So that they can find Mike and PPH on Facebook. The more people that see the exposure videos, the better. The more eyes that are on it, the better it'll be, because that's what it's for, to expose people so that you know who the child predators are. So give this video a share, and if you want to support us further, you can go to our storefront, bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point Podcast. Pick yourself up an American Cross t-shirt, brand new design that's available on our storefront. I am your host, JD, for my very special guest, Mike from Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. That's the end. I'm not around, have you found? I'm always on you.